I see that I have a couple of different, let's see, I think we've had some questions come in. So I think I have one. Some people say the speed at which you speak signals how quickly you think and process things. Is there any truth or scientific basis for that? That's a really interesting question. Thank you for that. So I think what's interesting about speed of speech, this in part can be due to a lot of it is how comfortable you are, how at ease you are, and what chemicals are kind of rushing through your brain. So you'll probably notice that people tend to speak more quickly if they're nervous or if they're anxious. This is because they're going to have some adrenaline running through their body. And so their heart rate is going to go up and their speech is going to quicken. So I would say that in regards to whether or not the speed of speech actually has to do with how quickly you process things, I would actually disagree with that just because that would not be the only factor. I also think that what's really interesting is if you speak a little bit more slowly, it can actually help you to make a point more clear. It not only allows people more time to actually hear what you're saying on a literal level, but it can also allow you to really punctuate a point in a conversation. So for instance, if I'm just talking kind of casually like this, but then I slow down and I say, this is really important. I really want you to hear this. All right, great. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you next week. So that can really help also to really underline something that you want to get across. So again, I would say that would just be more of a choice or style of how you want to communicate something to someone. So again, I wouldn't necessarily agree that there's a scientific basis for your intellect or how quickly you're processing things based upon how quickly you're speaking. I think the last comment I'll make on this, because it's a really interesting question, is a lot of people will speak they have like a personal pace at which they speak at, and they have kind of their own normal. And some people tend to speak slightly faster normally than the majority, and some speak a little more slowly than the majority of people. And that's okay. The key is to be authentic to what works for you so that you're comfortable and therefore communicating a sense of confidence. And it's also about reading the room and knowing who your audience is. If you are talking to an audience that requires you to speak a little more slowly or to give them more time to really understand what you're saying, maybe you slow down your speech and vice versa. So I think that when in doubt, when it comes to speed of speech, check in with yourself, see what feels comfortable so that you maintain a sense of confidence, and then also check in with your audience and what you think may or may not work for them. So I hope that that answers that question, but super interesting. Love that. And let's see, I think I'm getting a few more questions. This is awesome, guys. Thank you, by the way, for all the questions. Let's see. Someone asked about, is slow always good? And also, what is vocal fry? Okay, so is slow always good from Annalie? So basically building on what we've been talking about, slow is not always good. Again, I think it depends upon what makes you comfortable. What is your normal speaking pace? And what is workable for your audience? What are they looking for? Are they going to get bored really easily? What's going to really work for you? I think that at the best levels of speech capability, you are going to be changing pace somewhat throughout your speech or your presentation, as well as a little bit of melody. And you're also going to change attitude. And this will allow you to be emotive, to keep a story going, to keep your audience engaged, and also to underline any particular points that you want to underline. So really, the best answer is slow will be a part of someone who is a dynamic speaker because they're using it as a tool. So I hope that that answers your question. From Katie, what is vocal fry? So vocal fry is, I guess you could consider it what people would call like the Valley Girl accent. It would be talking like this, like, oh my God, oh, like kind of like that. So it is basically what's happening here is you're raising your vocal cords and almost shredding them because you're lifting your voice. Just kind of sound like this. And it's a little nasally. Oh my God. So when you're doing that, it's actually really bad for your voice and for your vocal cords. So I would highly recommend staying away from it, not only because it sounds terrifying, but also because it is actually quite bad for your voice. Vocal fry, by the way, is different from glottal fry. Glottal fry is a different sound that has become actually, this is interesting because different sounds become different popular. So this is actually a good topic for you guys to hear about. Right now, what is a popular sound that people like and that is considered to be very millennial is glottal fry. So I just did a glottal fry. It's when your voice shakes a little bit, and it's because your throat is so open and relaxed that you can kind of sound like this. It's kind of like very chill. So it's different from vocal fry because you're at a much lower pitch. So your vocal cords aren't being lifted and being shredded, and your throat is actually very open and very relaxed. So you may hear this in some commercials. The next time you hear a voiceover on a commercial, and it is typically men that do it, but women do it as well. Obviously, I have trained myself to do it. You'll probably hear someone kind of get a little relaxed at one point, and then go back into regular speech, but kind of get like super relaxed and do that glottal fry thing. So that if you can do glottal fry, I would encourage you to throw it into your speech patterns as a nice little seasoning effort, because it is considered to be very trendy right now in the voice world and something that people, especially the millennial generation, tend to respond well to. So something interesting you can potentially throw into the mix. The other thing that is very trendy right now on the topic is being more conversational. So by conversational, that means a little less formal. So I think that that probably would make sense, especially for a lot of people on this call who are founders and funders. It makes sense to be a little bit more conversational so that you can be more connected to the person in front of you versus super formal. Let's see.